Wow.
Just so you know, I don't have my personal cell phone anymore. It's gone, so I only have no way to communicate anymore.
What?
More details are in order at some point,
It's-
not right this
the
minute.
cell phone is gone.
That is interesting.
I'm trying to smile, but I'm very mad right now.
Oh, no.
Didn't you just get that?
Yeah, I did, and it's so expensive for a new cell phone. Has anyone bought a new cell phone lately?
Oh, I know. It's crazy.
So expensive.
I just had to buy one. Mine broke last weekend in Chelan, so I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, so they're about $1,000 a phone.
Wow.
And I have insurance if I still have the phone. However, if you don't have the phone, the insurance doesn't pay off.
You're just making the story more interesting, Marcus.
Yeah, we want details. Details, please.
You know, the story gets better if I were to tell more, but I'm just going to keep it in check.
Hmm.
For more important details, I'll tell more later.
We're at 7 o'clock, so let's get going.
Okay, hold on real quick, Mayor. I'm sorry. Let me hit the record button.
Hit record. I see recording.
Yep, recording is going.
So with that, this is Tuesday, October 27th, 2020 at 7 p.m. This is going to be a City of Lake Stevens City Council regular meeting, and it is going to be accessed via Zoom, and we are also recording it live as we speak on YouTube. So with that, I would ask everyone to stand and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Justice
with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And so with that, I'll call this meeting to order. And Kelly, can you give us a roll call?
Councilmember Daughtry,
Present.
Councilmember Peter Shaken,
Present.
Councilmember Frederick,
Present.
Councilmember Dickinson,
Present?
Councilmember Jorstad,
Present.
Councilmember Ewing,
Present.
Councilmember Tadgett.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, we got everybody?
See.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, perfect. So with that, Council President Tadgett, can you give us the agenda?
Good evening, everybody. Can we get a consensus on the agenda?
So moved.
So I've got a motion to move the agenda second.
Second.
Angie Jorstad, thank you. So I got a first and a second. Everyone in favor of approving the agenda as submitted, approve by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. If there's
Aye.
any opposed, please dissent. Since I hear no dissent, I will say that.
yeah.
Oh, Mary?
If I wanted to add something to the agenda, is this where I do it or later?
If you'd like to add something, we can chat about that. And if you'd like to add something, then we can either make a motion to approve or deny adding something to the agenda, Mary.
Okay.
Council
I-
President
go ahead.
Tadgett, I have one question. Are we having an executive session tonight?
Yes, we are.
So I see a nod of the mayor's head there. So do we need to recognize that on the agenda?
We will need
Yeah.
to the mayor.
Yeah, we're going to need to add that as an agenda item. Yeah.
So I'd like to acknowledge the agenda item as have an executive session first to approve the addition of an executive session to the agenda first. Can I get a motion for that, please?
Move to add executive session to the agenda.
Is that a
Second.
first? Second? Okay, great. All in favor? Can I get a?
Aye.
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 Any opposed to the movement of that? No? Great. So that's done. Councilmember Dickinson, please bring up your agenda item now.
Okay, my agenda item today would be to add something to our budget to help fund the Lake Stevens Senior Center. And that is what I'd like to add to the agenda, so at least we can have a discussion on this. I would like to add that to the agenda tonight.
So are you asking to add in an item for discussion, a discussion item?
Well, a proposal or a discussion item? I guess a discussion item.
Okay, so you're asking to propose a discussion item, but nothing for an action item. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I guess it's an action item. Yes, it would be an action item because I'd like us to vote on it. So yes, I'm asking for us to vote on this, but first a discussion.
So if I may, so if you're
Mhm.
asking to put something in the budget, then that would be when we do the budget hearing.
Total.
Okay.
That would be when you would want to do that. If it's not already in the budget and you want to propose it to be in the budget, that's when we would do that. And that would be.
Okay.
Tonight it would be a discussion item.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, that's all I need to do. So I'm not,
And
okay,
I'll
put it
second
as a
that.
discussion item.
I'll second that motion to discuss the senior center.
Okay, so I got a first and a second to add to the agenda a discussion item concerning budget line item for the Senior Citizen Center. I got a first and a second. All in favor, approved by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Okay, so any opposed? So that will pass unanimously.
Thank
So
you.
we're gonna add 2 items to the agenda, one being a executive session. And hopefully we have a room set up for us to adjourn to an executive session, Kelly?
You do. I did send a separate link out for that. It's a Teams meeting. The
Perfect,
topic
perfect.
of the executive session is potential litigation.
Potential litigation. Perfect. So we have 2 items added to the agenda. So I think, do we need a vote on approving the agenda now?
Yes.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I move to approve.
Second.
Second.
So I got Councilmember Angie Jorstad with the motion and the second by Sean Frederick. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Great. Any object? Great. So that motion carries unanimous. Mayor, you now have an agenda.
Just
Excellent.
a point of clarification, where is the executive session happening, at the beginning or the end of the agenda?
Very
Yeah.
end.
Okay, thank you.
All right, perfect. So we have an agenda. Okay, so with that, we're going to move into citizens' comments. And what we do on citizens' comments is we allow any citizen to have the floor for 3 minutes. And we ask that you state your name and your address, and then I will start a 3-minute timer on you. And when you hear the beep, you are out of 3 minutes. So here we go. And so here's how I run I'll look for hands up, or if you want to say your first name, and I'll call you out. Folks are on the phone. So with that, we'll start out with, looks like Jerry has citizens comments. Go ahead. Jerry,
You're muted, Jerry.
Testing 1.
we got you, Jerry.
Okay. I would like to start off with a report from the Senior Center. This is something that we have always done at least twice a year. We have not done it yet this year. Anyways, to begin with, our membership now is about 218 members as of the end of September, which we are down on the count of about 200 citizens. We figured that because of the COVID, people, especially seniors, are not willing to leave their homes or cannot leave their homes because there is just no transportation for them to bring them to wherever. So I will report on our meals on wheels, let's call it that, our drive-through meals, and which was partially funded by the city, and we are grateful for that. And we started that in June of this year, only on Fridays when we started in June. And at that time, we served 206 meals for June. And then we went to 2 days a week, Wednesday, Friday in July. And in July, it jumped to 773 meals we gave out. Then in August, 602. And then again in September, 542, with a total of 2,123 through September of this year. And like I said, we do appreciate what city did for us on that to keep us funded to buy the food and the packaging and everything else to supply our seniors with that. And then I would like to take my other 2 or 3 minutes so that I can field any questions from council or city officials. Hopefully I can answer that for you. I'm just willing to answer whatever questions you come up with.
So this is a portion of the council meeting where you give input. We don't comment.
Oh, is that right? Okay,
Yes.
so there's no questions you can ask me. Okay.
No, there's no. This is only
Okay.
comment period only. Thank
Okay,
you.
then that will be the end of my report until you guys have your meeting.
Thank you.
You
Thanks,
bet.
Jerry.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else for citizens' comments tonight? How about Vicky? I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Mhm.
That for me?
I'm looking, Vicky, go ahead.
Vicky, go ahead, Vicky.
So we would like to be considered in your annexation of our property that's going to happen, December, January, whatever. The property behind us is the Mountain View development that's going in. And we would like to be zoned the same as that property behind us in the 3,200 square foot lots. And we just wanted the council to consider that. We've spoken to some other homeowners that are neighbors of ours that are interested in doing that as well. I know one of them is on the meeting tonight. But it's the R8-12 is what the property behind us, the Mountain View property, is zoned as, and we are interested in being zoned that same rather than the R6 that's on your map, the 7,200 square foot lots. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Vicky. And then Scott, did you have a comment?
Yes, to follow up on that, Vicky and Rudy and my wife and I are neighbors. We live inside the southeast interlocal, the new annexation. And I just kind of got together with some of the other homeowners and just kind of some thoughts. So thank you for the opportunity to let us speak. And we kind of have a proposal. We want to offer the following comments, I guess, based on it. Vicky kind of touched on them. We know in Snohomish County in general, there is a housing affordability crisis. We recognize there's a shortage of developable land, and that's a contributing factor. So as landowners, as a group within the urban growth area and the new annexation there on the southeast side of city of Lake Stevens, we're in the county still right now. We're really in favor of it. We think that there needs to be more affordable housing in the area. And so that's kind of why we're looking at hoping to maybe even have where we can pre-zone in so that there's more flexibility. So whether the developer wants to go with a high use density or keep it at around the 7,200 square foot per unit, we're really hoping that you'll consider going to that 8 to 12. And so that it will, make a lot more opportunities for different levels of housing. So just kind of as a group, we just wanted to have that considered. And we're definitely in favor of the rezone and the new pre-zone that's coming in, as well as the annexation. So that's pretty much our comments for now. And we look forward to working with the city council on it.
All right, Scott, thank you for the comments.
Scott, I'm sorry. Can you state your full name? I see your part of your last name, but what's your full name?
Okay, yeah. So it's my wife is Sean. I'm Scott, and then Bennison is B like in boy, ENNISON.
Thank you.
Yep, and just a reminder that when you start, if you could give us your full name and address, that would be great. Thank you for your comments, Scott. Dustin Lamb, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening. My name is Dustin Lambro. I don't live in Lake Stevens, but I am the political director for one of the unions. We have pretty good union density in Snohomish County in particular, but also in Lake Stevens. And I just wanted to reiterate a note of thanks to Jean Roselle, for the city administrator, for bringing forward a concept that we had talked with him about a couple of weeks ago that ensures that, you know, regardless of what happens with this next contract for solid waste and recycling services, that workers, no matter who they end up working for, are protected, and that they still have their health care. And you know, we've found, we've worked on this issue in many other cities, that disruptions can often be both chaotic for residents in the city, and also for drivers who want to make sure that they're able to maintain their health insurance, and there's also some certainty that, you know, if in the case of, you know, in Lake Stevens, for example, if you switch contractors, that the existing workers for an employer don't have to switch jobs. So I just wanted to say thank you all for considering that, and it's really good public policy to be able to protect workers' jobs and wages and benefits. So much
Can you tell me what my phone number is?
Oh, my phone number? Sure, is 206.
Hey, Dustin, I think he was talking to someone else. Let me mute.
Oh, okay, sorry. So just again, a note of thanks for all of you for considering that language. Appreciate it.
All right. Hey, thank you, Dustin, for the comments. And then I have Jeannie Zari.
Thank you, Mayor. My name's Janine Zari. I live at 1013 116th Avenue Southeast in Lake Stevens. And I'm joining the meeting today as a WM employee, waste management employee, and a waste management customer. I take great pride in the company that I've worked for almost 11 years now. And I'm really excited about what we WM bring to the community. So I guess last year our employees brought a touch truck to the Harvest Fest, and we handed out candy in a really cute little garbage can, and the kids loved it. We also sponsored Music by the Lake event last summer, the pre-COVID summer, I should say. And we had lots of games and prizes for the neighbors, for our neighbors, and answered a bunch of questions about recycling, with all the recycling restrictions that are going on. And we're just really excited about the new contract, and we're going to be continuing an awesome tradition about supporting all these types of events in the coming years, hopefully being a part of Aquafest as well. I moved to Lake Stevens about 6 years ago from Seattle, and one of the deciding factors was that waste management was my hauler. And I'm honored that my company cares so much about this community that I live in. And I just really want you guys to know that we appreciate your support, and looking forward to the new contract. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Jeannie. Janine,
you had it. Thanks, Bear.
Okay, so next I have a hand up with Megan Ward.
Hi, thank you, Mayor. I am Megan Ward, and I'm a senior people advisor also with Waste Management, and I live at 1440 101st Avenue Southeast in Lake Stevens. I live, work, and am raising a family in Lake Stevens. I've worked for Waste Management for going on 11 years. I actually lived in Lake Stevens when I moved to Washington, then moved outside of Lake Stevens to Monroe, and then moved back to Lake Stevens actually because I wanted to live in an area where Waste Management was the primary hauler. I love what the city has done with North Cove Park. My kids love the new splash pad and have utilized that. I was excited to hear that in the new contract, Waste Management is going to be giving the city 4 new solar-powered garbage and recycling big bellies. And those new tech-savvy compactors are going to look very cool in our growing downtown area. And it's going to help facilitate keeping our downtown free of litter and keep me and my family returning to participate in the farmers markets and Aquafest Those are just, I think a great addition to our downtown. It's also wonderful to see that kind of innovation from both Waste Management and our city leaders. I love being an employee of Waste Management and also a resident of the Lake Stevens community. And I'd just like to thank the city staff and city council for your support. And I'm really excited for this new contract to be put into place.
All right, Megan, thank you. And then I have a hand up with Anthony Lilly. Anthony, go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I am actually a resident and Republic Services worker. I do understand that this contract was put in less than 31 hours ago without actually letting the public know about it. And as far as I know, it seems like a no bid contract. I really think that with the 10 years of service that Allied has put in, with amazing service that I know of, amazing rates and everything like that, I just really think that before we bar this no contract or no dual contract to just go up to bid without actually letting the residents of Lake Stevens is proper, not just the Republic Services customers, but the Waste Management customers as well. I mean, there seems to be a lot of hidden fees in there that the public doesn't know about. And I really think that before the committee votes on this, it might be something that they might want to spend a little more than 30 hours looking through with all the things on the agenda. Might be something that they might want to bar for table for another day. Might also be something that the public might want to look at. Republic does have a 1 to 3 year extension on their contract. So before we get too hasty and just actually voting on this, maybe the public of not only Republic Services, but also Waste Management customers might want to take a look at, because from the few things that I've seen in the last 10 hours or so, is it seems like the rates are really going to increase and the customers really might not have a chance to respond or even vote on. So I just think that before we do a full vote with the committee, we might just want to table it for a little while and let everybody read through it, let the Waste Management and the Republic customers look over and see if it's actually something they want to do. It's kind of not fair to the customers and the residents of Lake Stevens as a proper to actually just be cast out without a two-party bid. And I think that it just might really benefit the customers and the city proper as a whole to be able to take a look at that contract before it gets voted on.
Okay, Anthony, I appreciate your comments. And I've got a hand up with, I don't think it's Emily, but it says Emily Cargnino.
Yes, my name is Josh Schroeder. I live at 2125 130th Drive, Northeast, Lake Stevens.
What?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've lived in Lake Stevens since I was probably 4 years old, growing up here. I'm currently raising my 3 kids here in the house that I grew up in. I currently am also a Republic Services employee, and as of right now, pick Lake Stevens on Fridays. And I just would like to see, I think we do a tremendous job. I've had Republic for as long as I can remember. I've never had any issues. And I would like to see, with the current climate of things, just maybe hold off and evaluate everything and just have a 2-bid system so we can at least get fair rates for everybody. I know Republic, we do excellent work, a lot of community outreach. I know, I can't say enough about them. I've never had an issue. I know with the current climate of things, with everybody working from home, with all, I do recycling myself. With everybody working from home, it's extremely heavy right now in all the extras, and we pick up weekly. So I think, you know, if they were to go to every 2 weeks, the amount of extras people would probably get charged would be, it'd be a tremendous amount. And I know right now, currently, we take all kinds of extras, and I mean, even with weekly service, people have extras every week, even with 90-gallon. So I just, you know, I've never had an issue, and I would just like to see maybe just to allow both companies to have equal shot at it, so we can get the best service and best rates for everyone in the city.
Okay, thank you, Josh. And next I have Melissa Illingworth.
Good evening, everybody.
Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Hi, I'm a resident of Lake Stevens. I live at 30.
Melissa, if you have some external speakers on, you might turn them off.
Sorry about that.
Good.
Can you hear me now?
You bet, that's better.
Okay, perfect. I live at 3014 127th Avenue, Northeast, Lake Stevens. I am a daughter of a garbage man. I am the wife of a garbage man. I'm a city resident who's raising a family here. We do live in Republic Services District. I see our garbage men interact in the neighborhood with elderly families, bringing in their cans with kids, young kids, letting them, you know, add their trash to the pile. I have major concerns having lived in an area that has had both Waste Management and Republic as my service provider. And I would like it definitely same as what I've heard previously, an opportunity for Republic to be at the table, an opportunity for them to be able to offer a contract to the community.
Okay, thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else with citizens' comments tonight? I'm not seeing, there we go. We got Melissa, another Melissa. Melissa,
hi.
How are you?
Good. Hi, Melissa Neck, 12110 26th Street Northeast. We're also Republic customers, and we're extremely happy with the service we've had the entire time we've lived here. I don't feel like there's any way we could do a bi-weekly recycling here, like was mentioned before, especially with my husband working from home and all the packaging coming in. And it seems like we're getting a really good deal with Republic, and I would really encourage the council to take a second look at possibly getting bids from both companies and see if there's a way to get more citizen input and work with both companies, see what we can do for the residents of Lake Stevens. I really do want to hear, I haven't heard anything from Waste Management. I know that some of my friends who are Waste Management customers have gotten letters from Republic about the switch, but I personally have heard nothing from Waste Management. So just the amount of information coming to me as a Republic customer, possibly Waste Management customer, I don't feel like it's a very good balance right now, but please reconsider. Think about taking bids, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Melissa. Good to see you. Robin McGee, what do you have for us this week?
Hi, yeah, so Robin McGee, Lake Stevens resident. And I would like to echo what Melissa Knack was just saying there. So we were Waste Management customers for several years and did have multiple problems with them, and now moved to be in the city, and now we have Republic, and the weekly recycle pickup is incredible, honestly, and especially with staying home during COVID. That will be a problem. I know for us, it sounds like it will for Melissa as well. And I really do encourage the city to take more than one bid from one company. I think that's standard practice. It seems reasonable. There may be compelling reasons to go with Waste Management. I'm not saying that there aren't, or that isn't going to be the best deal. But I do encourage the city to look at all the options and weigh everything. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Robin. I'm not seeing, oh, there we go. We got Tony. Tony, I'm not gonna try at it. Go for it. You're still muted, Tony. Tony. Tony, you're muted still. There you go.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm not a citizen of Lake Stevens, but I am the operations manager for Republic Services. I've been with the company for 21 years now, 13 years as a driver. In 2014, I made the transition from driver into management. And for the past 2 years, I've had the pleasure of managing the crew that does service Lake Stevens on a weekly basis. Kind of wanted to go over some of the unwrittens in tonight's proposal that was submitted by Waste Management, because with this unilateral decision to exclusively speak to Waste Management, I want to make sure these questions are asked and answered. With Republic Services, our safety is our #1 priority. Our drivers go through extensive training programs. When a new driver is onboarded, they go through class work, skills course, then they are set with one of our behind the wheel instructors for 6 weeks, being trained on best practices, safety, route ready, and clear expectations of his or her job. To service our customers with professionalism and courtesy that our customers have come to expect in the safest way possible. Earlier this year, our drivers in Linwood serviced over 1.2 million customer actions and drove over 250,000 miles without a single safety incident. That just helps to reinforce the emphasis that we put on safety and training in our drivers that will be operating these trucks that could weigh up to 57,500 pounds in your neighborhoods. With kids being home from school, their recesses now and their playgrounds is now the same roads that we operate on a daily basis. So with that said, when we have a driver who's on vacation and there's a vacancy or a vacancy due to attrition, we have a very select group of 7 relief drivers. These drivers are paid at a premium. They receive extra training. Not only are they relief drivers, they're also the drivers that we choose to be our behind the wheel instructors to go to more classes and have more training. Being a preferred employer of the trash industry in the area, having 5 to 6 waste management drivers or Recology drivers or other waste company drivers apply at our positions every time we have one open. We are to understand waste management's policies with vacant routes as they use a driver pool. And what a driver pool is a group of low experienced, low seniority drivers that do not have a route secured. They are just a body put in a truck to service these routes that they do not know, driving on streets that they are not familiar with. That is too big of a risk for us to take at Republic. When your driver is not in the truck, you can be assured that we have a professional behind the wheel with many years of experience servicing your area. These are important factors that I would like the council to consider, that factors that may not have come up with a unilateral discussion and not sitting down with multiple carriers at the table or 2 carriers at the table. And I think that my drivers, with the 10 years that they have been servicing Lake Stevens, and they were chosen to service Lake Stevens 10 years ago by the city council, haven't had their voices heard or haven't had their experience heard or haven't had a seat at the table. And there's no rush. There's no rush to do this. There is definitely provisions to allow the city to extend, especially in the time of our pandemic right now, asking a lot of our customers. I'm not going to get into the rates and the hidden fees that I see in the proposal, but they are there, quite a few. And it would be very prudent for the council to take the time to research this proposal and ask the important questions. And I, for one, would be very happy to answer any questions any member of the council has, including yourself, Mayor, to help have a better understanding of the operational works of running the trash business.
Hey, thank you, Tony. Appreciate that. I'm looking for other hands up. I got Leaf. Go ahead.
Thank you for hearing me tonight. My name is Leif Kaiser.
I'm a shop steward at Republic Services. I represent my coworkers. And while not being a citizen of Lake Stevens, I have several things that I would like to bring to the attention of the meeting before the sanitation contract is decided upon. First of all, I would like to thank the members of the council and the city administration that worked on the displaced workers language for this contract. It means a lot to me and my coworkers that you guys consider us when you're deciding these things. I've been servicing the city of Lake Stevens through different employers for the past 15 years. First, I was at Pepsi, and then Columbia Distributing, and now at Republic Services. It has allowed me the opportunity to raise two amazing young boys. But before I ever started working here, their grandfather served the city for over 2 decades as a member of the Lake Stevens Police Department, primarily as a sergeant, but also as an interim chief for a brief period. He was the first police officer to ever retire from the city of Lake Stevens. From my relationship with Dave Ganong, through my coworkers, past and present, and my many customers I have serviced in the city, I feel that I have come to know the citizens of Lake Stevens quite well. I don't feel that providing protection for the jobs of any of my coworkers who might be displaced by this contract is enough. I believe it is also the purview of the council to consider what is best for my coworkers who are citizens of Lake Stevens as well. To start, I don't believe that having a bid from one provider offers the citizens with the most economical service available. I don't believe that any contract that applies a monetary disincentive to recycling is ecologically responsible. Lastly, this bid doesn't take into consideration what is best for the citizens living here who are currently work for waste management. Part of our collective bargaining agreement with Republic Services already includes language for displaced workers. Waste management's contract does not. Furthermore, some of the compensation offered to employees of various lines of business are below what they would receive at Republic Services. Unfortunately, no matter what the council decides on this contract, there will be workers who, if nothing else, have to go through a shift in their day-to-day, possibly changing employers. I would ask you to consider whether those workers would be better served going to work at Waste Management or Public Services. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
All right, thank you, Lee. Any other hands up? Or I got Robert Rutledge, go ahead.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Can everybody hear me okay?
You bet, gotcha.
All right. My name is Robert Rutledge. I am the district manager for Waste Management of Marysville. And I appreciate the time, council members, this evening. And just really wanted to take a moment to highlight the 2/3 of the city that Waste Management does currently provide service to the city of Lake Stevens. And looks forward to continuing our commitment to excellence in safety, service, and savings for our customers over the next 10 years with the contract. I look at the mission statement that is at the top of the agenda, where the focus is it's the vibrant economy, the unsurpassed infrastructure, and the exceptional quality of life. Those are all keys that Waste Management strives to achieve and looks forward in partnering with the city over the next 10 years and helping you guys achieve your 2030 vision. We do our utmost best from a consistency standpoint, to ensure that any complaints, issues that customers have are addressed in a timely manner through our management staff. And if there's ever been issues that have been escalated beyond that, not only myself, our sales team, and our public sector group are always there to help support and ensure that we are answering any questions or concerns you may have. And I want to reiterate how those expectations that we've proven and shown over the last several years will continue to exceed through the next 10 years of this contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Do I have any other hands up? Marcy, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Thank you for letting me speak today. My name is Marcy Matabusin, and I am the contract manager with Waste Management. I live just down the road in Marysville. I have been your contract manager for just over a year now, and I've worked with waste management for 10 years. If there's an issue, I'm just a short drive away, and I love nothing more than getting in my car and coming over to work with Jean and Eric to quickly solve any issues and be there in person to do so. I'm an active member of the chamber. I've served on the event committee since January of this year when that committee launched. And I just wanted to talk about, in your new contract, residents are going to see a decrease in rates while services will increase. Residents will be able to take advantage of 2 annual cleanup events every year. We are proud to bring an award-winning education team to Lake Stevens to host sustainability programs in the schools and for local community groups. We're also really proud that we're able to bring a discount for disabled veterans. We know that veterans are a priority in the city, and for elected officials, you have your veteran commission, the first one in the state. In closing, I just want to say I'm very proud of the relationships that I've been able to establish with the city, with chamber members. Honestly, I can say it's like a partnership, and I feel part of the Lake Stevens community. Over the next 10 years, I will bring proactive, results-driven, open and engaged contract management to the city. And I just want to thank you for your support.
Thank you, Marcy. And I think I had where'd he go? Kent Cronenberg, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, council. So my name is Ken Cronenberg. I'm the general manager for Republic Services. So I oversee our operations east side King County, so from Cougar Mountain all the way up to Lake Stevens and all our Snohomish operations. First of all, thanks to my team for getting on the call. Appreciate you all. Go to bed soon. Also, the waste management drivers, you all have to get up early, but appreciate you all being part of this. I've been greatly encouraged and appreciative of those comments from my team, as well as some of the residents and our customers. What you get from Republic Service is a family, frankly. And I would encourage the council to come on down to our Linwood hauling location and come meet the family. We literally have a kitchen. We bake cookies on Fridays. And the reason that it's a family is because, as Tony, our operations manager, pointed out, it's safety first. And it's, that's how we live. You kind of follow the dollars. And like Tony was saying, we put time into training our drivers properly and making sure that for the residents of Lake Stevens, they're getting the best professional possible. Because at the end of the day, that is the most important thing. But on top of that, I do want to talk about a letter that was sent by me to the council. I hope you all had a chance to read it. And I want to outline for the current Republic Service customers, there will be a decrease in service in recycling. And if you have to read the fine print of the contract to understand that there will also be a rate increase for those residents if they're going to maintain their current level of recycling. Again, that's something I'm happy to expound upon, provide some more details if we have a chance to present to the council or meet with the city staff. The city administrator and the public works director, we did meet about a month and a half ago and definitely appreciated the conversation we had. I know how these contracts are a lot of work for the city staff. So hats off to you all. I know it's a grind to get through all this. But with all that being said, I do want to mention a couple things. We do have a senior discount in our current contract, and also for disabled members of the community. So that's already there. And the council needs to know that if the status quo is maintained with waste management over their area, there can be an extension of our public services contract for up to 3 years. And I have mentioned that to Jean and the city staff as an option. And we'd be willing to have a briefer extension if that is to the benefit of the city. And what it's really all about is having a competitive bid process. I do believe it is a bit unusual, the situation with 2 haulers in one city, but to have the 2 biggest garbage and recycling companies in the country and to only speak to one of them is a missed opportunity. So I hope that the council considers a competitive bid process, probably at some point next year. We certainly would be excited to submit a bid And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kent. I'm looking for any other hands up. I got Pixel 4A is what your name is. I don't have a name for you.
Hi, my name is Derek Chilson. I actually live in Lake Stevens. Wife is a counselor at the high school at 9003 15th Place Northeast. Thank you for having me. I just signed up with Zoom because I got a new phone, so I didn't have a chance to put my name in. I'm actually a driver for Waste Management. I've been there 5 years. I'm actually one of the relief drivers that drives for the guys when they are off. And just wanted to stick up for the relief drivers out here. We actually do go through as much training as everybody else does. They actually put us with all of the route guys so that we learn their routes and we learn any of the tricks with the routes. We learn where the kids are so we can wave at them. Every morning we have a launch before we go out. We have a round table, you want to call it. We talk about certain things that are going on. Obviously COVID, we talk about, when there's fog, if there's been a heavy rain, keep your head on a swivel, constantly moving. I'm just, really thankful that you guys are using us, and I hope that we do get to be used because, again, I am one of the relief drivers. I don't have as much seniority as some of them, but safety is our #1 goal. We are constantly talking new things. They ask the drivers every morning, what's something new we can do? We have drivers talk about, incidents that happen, car pulled out in front of me and this is what I did. And, it makes me feel really good working for a company that safety is #1. So thank you so much for your time.
That's great. Thank you, Derek. Tell Emily hi for me. She's great.
Will do.
Any other hands up? Or a first name? I've got Galaxy S20 with a beard and a blue hat.
Can you hear me?
We got you, man.
Excellent. Hey, my name is David, and I am the lead driver for Republic Services Linwood. I've been there for 6 years. I've been through all of their behind the wheel training, and I am one of the behind the wheel instructors. Cannot stress how much we love being a part of your community. One of our absolute favorite things to do is a cleanup in the communities that we serve. And Lake Stevens is our absolute favorite community. We love going up to the junior high, parking out there and just being part of the community and speaking with all of your customers that get to come through there. And just the joy that we see in the kids' faces every year. And then on every Friday that we get to service your community. We just don't want to lose the ability to be a part of that. And everything that we bring there is from the heart. I'm not a citizen of Lake Stevens, but I am a driver. And I was actually out there today training a new roll-off driver in your community. We actually serviced your yard, the Lake Stevens yard, did 2 roll-off boxes out there. And I was talking to a couple of your guys out there and having a good time. And we would love to just be able to continue this and be able part of that and, to continue this great service that we have with you guys. And I want to thank you for hearing us out today.
Great, thank you. Any other comments tonight? First name, Russell, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Gailey, members of the council. Thank you for allowing me to speak during public comments. My name is Russell Joe. I'm a municipal relationship manager with Republic Services. Home office is in Linwood, Washington. I've been with the company for 2 years, and one of the first cities I visited was Lake Stevens. And during that time, I've enjoyed a productive and collaborative relationship with Lake Stevens. And I think that through our actions, you've seen that our support is not only financial. We don't just write a check and walk away. Rather, we support the nonprofits and other community organizations to help strengthen the connections that tie the community together. Now, I say our community because we at Republic Services feel a kinship and stewardship for the communities we serve. I think you've heard some of those sentiments from the comments from Anthony, the driver, Dave, the driver who just spoke, Anthony, our operations supervisor. we believe that our support of community organizations does show that commitment, whether it's our help with Green Snohomish, Sherwood Community Services, Lake Stevens Farmers Market, the Boys and Girls Club of Snohomish County, and Aquafest. Those are all examples of our commitment to the communities that we serve. While Aquafest was canceled this year and we tried to move some of our support to Harvest Fest and Winter Fest, but those events were also canceled because of COVID-19. We understand that recycling and organics was still in the front of mind of many of the citizens. So even with COVID-19 going on in July, we set up a table at the Lake Stevens Farmers Market so that we could do education and outreach to the citizens on the topics of organics and recycling. Now, I know the decision before the council tonight is not necessarily about weighing the credentials of the parties. The real question before the council is something akin to this. Does the council have sufficient information, and has the council received enough comments and input from the citizens of Lake Stevens to bind the city to a 10-year agreement? In other words, at the end of your deliberations tonight, ask yourselves if all of your questions and concerns have been answered, addressed, such that you can obligate Lake Stevens to this 10-year agreement. Now, you've heard some citizen concerns from our driver, Anthony, Robin, Melissa 1 and Melissa 2. Also some concerns about the need for more of a community conversation about the decision that's going to be made. And finally, you've heard some technical concerns from Kent Cronenberg, our general manager. Now, many of you know that I served 8 years on the Issaquah City Council, and Issaquah is a lot like Lake Stevens. The community involvement is quite high. The citizens want to know what's going on. They want the conversation about decisions to be part of their civic life. And so we'd ask that you listen to the concerns being brought forward. You seek more information that might be out there on agenda item F. There's no urgency again to finish the work on this item tonight, as has been brought up. So we'd hope that you'd be open to hearing the opinions from the public, and the different organizations that are out there might have some input on some of the issues. We want you to continue this conversation until you're satisfied that all of your questions have been answered. The bottom line is this: the council is charged with making the best decision for the greatest number of people for the longest period of time. I believe, and we at Republic Services believe, that by tabling this issue tonight, it gives you the opportunity to make that assessment and make a decision that's in the best interest of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell. Any other comments for tonight? I'm not seeing any hands or hearing anybody. Okay, so with that, we're going to close citizens' comments at this time, and we are going to move forward with council business. Council President Tadgett.
In order, that session went a little long. I would like to skip council business tonight so we can finish by 9 o'clock, because we have a lot on the agenda and we have an executive session. So I'd like to see us move this meeting forward a little faster than normal. Is there anyone that has a comment that they feel like they really need to make sure that is heard from the council? So we can move this meeting along and get out by 9 o'clock tonight.
Great suggestion, Marcus. I concur.
Great, thank you. So Mayor, we're gonna skip this section and hopefully all the other parts and get down to business tonight.
Okay, well, I'll fulfill your hopes and I'll skip my mayor's business as well. And I know that the city department doesn't have any reports tonight either. So let's move to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Anyone opposed? Hearing no one opposed, then the consent agenda moves forward. We'll hit the discussion item that was added, which is Councilmember Dickinson's discussion on the senior center.
Does discussion come after action items?
Is discussion?
Typically, yes.
Okay, yeah, we can do it afterwards. Okay, we'll move that then. So let's move to action item F, which is the solid waste contract with Waste Management. Eric.
Actually, I'm going to lead into this, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Appreciate your time this evening. Several months ago, the city made the decision to direct negotiate with Waste Management, which is allowed under state law to do that process. Part of that process is going into good faith negotiations, and both parties remained really quiet on this to maintain that confidentiality throughout the process. I know the question's been raised as why not go to another vendor and get other proposals or counter proposals, and that's just typically not the way it goes, and that wasn't the decision we made to maintain that good faith negotiation. It was decided that we would negotiate directly with Waste Management. If that decision is changed after this evening, we could go to an RFP process, and at that time it would be necessary to extend contracts and that type of thing, and go through that RFP process. So that is still on the table, but that is not the recommendation this evening from staff. We put a significant amount of time into this bargaining that we went through, and I believe we've brought forward a really good proposal this evening. Director Durpo is now going to walk you through those items that are in that proposal, and I'm welcome any questions.
Okay, good evening, Mayor, City Council, members of the public. I just want to reiterate what Director Brazel commented on, that we have spent several months working on this contract. I've been in the solid waste business for over 20 years, working for, I guess, 2 different cities and being a part of negotiating these contracts. So I'd like to just cover the current services a little bit, if I may, that we are proposing, and that is garbage weekly, recycling, which is every other week, but with a standard 96-gallon cart. So that is what 2/3 of the residents in Lake Stevens use right now that are current Waste Management customers. And it works very, very well. So I would rather see every 2-week pickup on recyclables with a bigger cart than every week. Lessens the vehicles on the road, wear and tear on our streets, that type of thing. It has yard waste weekly with a standard 96-gallon cart. All the carts will be Waste Management supplied carts in the future. So there will be no customer supplied carts, which is a benefit, makes the pickup more efficient and more cost effective. So those are basically the services that we're talking about tonight. I would like to get into some of the specifics of the contract. I think Marcy already mentioned that there is a 10% disabled veteran discount, 30% disabled or more. And then one of the big things that's on this contract that you don't see in many others is an annexation clause, and that's section 2.2, page 5. And that allows any newly annexed areas to be serviced under the contract that we're negotiating tonight for the city versus stay in the UTC. It's been the city's goal for a long time to have one contract carrier within the city, and this helps ensure that. Also in the contract is a cleanup event twice a year, spring and fall. That's when we see our most debris, and that cleanup actually has added green waste to the things that we pick up. So that's been a big question with our customers when they do their spring pruning, and when they have leaves, excess amount of leaves, if they'd have some place to get rid of them. So I would like to mention the annual contribution on page 10 of $5,000 to support community events. Also, they're going to donate 100 yards of compost. Also, it was mentioned about the big belly containers. That's in there, and I really would like to focus on the education and outreach. We've really worked hard with Waste Management to step up the game on our ed and outreach, and this plays into our stormwater management as well, when we can keep the garbage off the streets and keep the green waste pickup. So look forward to partnering with them on that. As far as annual increases, you'll see in there in section 4.3 on page 11, we do have a CPI in there that has no floor in it. So it'll be actually what the cost of living is. which is also a good thing. We did touch on the preferred hiring that we were able to get in this contract for those Teamster employees that may get displaced, and that is on page 9, section 211.1-4. The other thing we have in this contract is a 0.5% franchise fee paid to the city by Waste Management, which is in section 4.7 on page 12. So I do know that Marcy, who spoke earlier, is here tonight, as well as Robin Friedman, and she's the senior contract manager for Puget Sound. And then we also heard from Rob, who's their operations manager. So I would like to introduce all them. Maybe they can wave. They're on the call tonight. We would at this time recommend council to approve the agreement with Waste Management. They are here to answer questions. If we get into discussion, you can target your questions towards the Waste Management team, and I'll let Marcy or Robin decide which one is the best to field those questions. I do believe this contract is in the best interest of the city, and I would like to propose adopting it.
Okay, with that, do I have a motion on the agenda item?
Mr. Mayor, for the purpose of discussion, I will move forward with a solid waste contract with Waste Management, again, for the purpose of discussion.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second, and I'll open the floor to discussion. Is there any discussion?
I think everybody's waiting for me because I'm, position 1. I don't know.
Okay.
When we first talked about this several months ago, I had already voiced my displeasure of going this direction. I have not changed my mind on that displeasure of not going to RFP process. I understand the city doing what they did. I understand that it's within the letter of the law. I understand that it actually saved a little bit of time for the staff to do it this way. I understand all those things, but I'm still not happy about how the process went. I think that I'm still of the opinion that both of the waste management companies should have been at the table. And I have not changed that opinion.
I'll just jump in and say this is a really hard decision because Republic Service has been a great partner, a great chamber member for a long time. And it's hard because we're trying to balance what's best for the city of Lake Stevens, trying to consolidate. I understand the staff's work. I recognize all the comments that were heard tonight. This is not an easy decision. Never is it an easy decision when you talk about changing companies for behalf of the city. It never is it easy when you talk about jobs and labor. It's hard. This is a hard decision tonight. I appreciate all the comments. First and foremost, it's the comments that I've heard tonight that go a long way with me and with my decision. I appreciate all the input from everyone who decided to take the time to be here tonight. It's a hard decision to make. But I want to let you know I appreciate all the decisions, all the comments tonight to help make an informed decision. Thank you.
I have to agree. I was sure I knew what I was going to do tonight on this topic, but hearing the citizens speak and listening to all of the folks for Republic and for Waste Management, it is not an easy decision. I wish it were more cut and dried, but yeah, that's all I have to say.
I think that my recollection of our conversation several months ago around which path to sort of move forward on, and this notion of having a unilateral discussion. I do remember at that time that council really sort of deliberated and asked some really hard questions. And for me, at the end of that conversation, not being a person who's familiar with waste management contracts, that's not my forte. I knew that I needed to trust our city staff and trust what we were being told, that this moving in this direction was in the best interest of the city. I felt like we asked some really difficult questions, and those questions were answered to my satisfaction at that time. And I placed my trust in our city staff to move forward. I also agree that the comments tonight have been compelling, and hearing from both waste management staff and Republic staff have been welcomed, and just greatly appreciate your willingness to have your voice heard. We also received letters and emails. But at the end of the day, I trust our city staff to move in a direction that makes sense. And I believe that they are moving in a direction that is in the best interest of our citizens.
I will echo all the comments that have been made by the fellow council members. This is it's contrary to how we typically do business. Typically, you do business, you get a couple of bids, and you pick the best one. So this is, I would agree with Councilman Daughtry. It's a little perplexing, I guess, as to the, I guess, the rationale of this negotiation. I do appreciate all the comments that have been made. I can't say I'm any closer to making a decision than I was before the comments were made, but I do have one question for Director Durpo. The issue being trying to get one service provider for our entire city, and I guess the efficiencies or the not so much the efficiencies, but I guess the what am I trying to say? The clarity as to who our garbage provider is when you have two providers in areas that are not clearly defined. I mean, we don't have a highway separating the situation, or they're kind of blended or adjacent boundaries, I guess. So does that issue in itself cause problem, I guess, for lack of a better way to put this?
I don't know if Councilmember Peter Shagan, if you'd call that a problem. I think you touched on mentioning clarity, right? We get quite a few calls of people not knowing who their carrier is that live on those boundaries where one street's waste management, one street might be Republic Services. There are a lot of efficiencies in how the routes would be set up and not having those boundaries of one carrier or the other carrier. The way the UTC is set up, all new annexations would still be covered by waste management if it was still Republic for the next 7 years. So we really wanted to be able to offer those newly annexed customers and future annexations this city contract to greatly improve their rates. So there's just quite a bit of efficiency. We'd probably get a truck off the road and rate consolidation, less congestion, less wear and tear on the roads. And then be clear to our customers. They got one call center to call when there's issue, one notice when there's snow and ice and route delays, and then city staff time managing two separate carriers as well can be a little bit challenging. So I think it's worth the efficiencies to consolidate carriers in my honest opinion. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So Director DePoe, I have a question for you. So what would it look like if, to put this out for RFP, I know Gene mentioned that in his comments, what would that look like if we were to proceed in that direction?
I'm going to defer that question to Gene. Maybe he can touch on that a little better than I can, if he doesn't mind. If not, I can field it, but.
Thank you, Director Durpo. We would, of course, have to extend Republic's contract to go another year or two to be able to facilitate putting the RFP out. It's about a year-long process. You advertise it like any other job opening, if you will, but you got to develop what I consider airtight standards for these folks to bid on, because you will get all sorts of different bids. There's more than 2 service providers out there, and there's a good chance you'd get bids from others. And so you got to make sure that the standards that you put out there for people to bid on are airtight. Then you receive those bids, you do interviews like any job, and you bring forward a recommendation. That being said, there's no guarantee in this situation. We've got Republic and Waste. There's no guarantee that Republic would get that bid. And I say them exclusively because even if we went out to an RFP and we awarded a bid to another company, Waste Management still would be servicing part of Lake Stevens because they're under the UTC rates, I believe is how it's said. And those areas that may be annexed into the in the southeast area, they could be annexed in, but they would still be under Waste service area because they have a contract that for a certain number of years, they would still be that provider. So that's the process. Those are potential outcomes. And I'm open for questions.
Gene, how would the fact that we now have a public waste management proposal impact that RFP process?
And I'm glad, I appreciate that question. That's why both parties have, the city and Waste have remained quiet during these negotiations to preserve that negotiation, make sure it was in good faith. And we agreed early on when we decided to direct negotiate that they would be the only ones we talked to. Now that this is daylighted, if we choose not to move forward with it, it would be thrown out. We would have to extend contracts, go through the RFP process, and over the recent history, other cities that have gone that direction have ended up with a lesser contract costing more because it does become a competitive bid, right? And so the chances of getting the same proposal from Waste afterwards may or may not happen. And again, in recent history, other cities in the same situation, it did not work out in their favor.
Thank you.
So Gene, I just want to thank you for, I know someone from Republic reached out, or actually from the union reached out to the council, and I appreciate your responsiveness to that. I think he commented tonight in the meeting, so we did get some input from the union to make sure that there was language to protect the workers for Republic in the event we move in that direction. So thank you for being mindful of that.
Gene, my question was actually previously answered, but I do want to thank you and staff for all of your hard work. I recognize that this is an incredibly difficult process, and I appreciate your comments, especially on the challenge, on discussing the challenges that pivoting from here to an RFP would pose, and the thought process going into the process that we went through to get to this point. So I just want to say thank you for all of that hard work.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, since we have appears no other discussion here, I would call for the question. You're muted, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, you're muted. Thank you.
There you go.
That guy. Okay, so we have a motion that's on the table to approve the solid waste contract with Waste Management. It's been seconded and there's been discussion. With that, all those in favor?
Can we do a roll call vote?
Kelly, let's do a roll call vote.
All right. Councilmember Daughtry?
Nay.
Councilmember Peter Shaken?
Aye.
Councilmember Frederick?
Aye.
Councilmember Dickinson,
Aye.
Councilmember Jorstad,
Aye.
Councilmember Ewing,
Aye.
Councilmember Tagent.
Aye.
Pass 6-1.
Okay, with that, we have a pass 6-1, and we have a new contract with Waste Management. And I appreciate everyone's work on that. It was, I appreciate everyone's comments on it as well. I can understand it was not an easy decision to make. Let's move on to action item G, which is ordinance 1098, amending Lake Stevens Municipal Code 2.76.030, additional employee benefits and policies. Anya.
Good evening, Council. So like the mayor said, before you is an ordinance. I'm asking Council to amend the municipal code, additional employee benefits and policies. And just a little background on this is you guys approved an employee handbook back in November 2019. And what we've noticed since then is the necessity to update language that maybe is unclear at times, or when federal or state laws are being updated, like surrounding harassment, workplace violence, we would like the ability to update that language as necessary. Other policies we would like to be able to update is, our teleworking policy. With COVID-19, our teleworking has changed, and in review, we would like to make some updates. So things that are insignificant, that are more operational, that don't affect employee salary and benefits, the staff is requesting that we be able to amend those policies with the mayor and city administrator's approval. And then what that would look like is we would send all the updates via email to all staff. Updates to those policies are in the beginning of the handbook with revision dates. And we would also send that with a CC to council, so you are aware of the updates. This would save staff time having to bring, maybe insignificant changes back to council time and time again, because things like these need to be updated frequently to make sure that we're staying with the times and in compliance with, HR recommendations, legal recommendations on policies and procedures.
Okay, so with that, do we have a motion on action item J for discussion?
This is Angie. I'd like to move that we approve ordinance 1098, amending the section regarding additional employee benefits and policies.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I think that this is taking a step further on helping the staff and the mayor run the city with guidance from the council, giving more, because we have a full-time mayor now. I think this is leading us in that particular direction, and still allows the council to weigh in when we need to. So I'm going to vote yes on this.
Any other discussion from council members? I'm hearing no discussion. I would call for a vote.
Aye.
Okay, so with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Excellent. Thank you, council. That'll
Thank
help us
you.
out greatly. Thank you, Anya, for your work. And let's go to action item H, letter supporting adoption of a 0.1% sales tax for affordable housing. Angie, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor Gailey. Bringing this back before the council for consideration. I appreciated our robust conversation at the workshop last week, discussing this letter of support to the Alliance for Housing Affordability, supporting the county council passing House Bill 1590. I want to thank Russ Wright. I don't know if he's on tonight, but he was able to, I think, really efficiently and effectively capture concerns that the council brought forth last week and draft, rather than us signing on to the letter that the AHA has proposed, drafted a new letter from the city of Lake Stevens. I think really clearly outlining the areas, the wording that he used, the areas that give us pause, and also the safeguards that, if they were in place, would allow the city to support the passage of House Bill 1590. That letter has been included in your packet. And so I would like to see if there is a motion to submit this letter via the Alliance for Housing Affordability to our county.
I move that we put this forth, this letter supporting adoption of a 0.1% sales tax for affordable housing. Send it forward.
So I'd like to ask a question here. Just one of the things that was in our letter is something that we discussed last week, and that was about the sunset clause.
Kim, if I could hold you up for just a minute. So we have a motion. Do we have a second on the motion?
Thank you, Mayor.
Discussion.
Sorry, I thought we had it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. Go ahead with discussion.
Okay, I apologize for that. I thought I heard a second.
No, you're good.
I'm not sure that the sunset clause, the way that we word this is adding a sunset clause on the tax. For example, imposing the tax for a defined period of time, 5 to 10 years. After that time, reevaluate the efficiency of the tax. I agree with doing that. I'm not sure that even if the council does approve the 0.1%, that they are able to put a sunset clause in there, because this is a legislative action if it is coming from the legislature. So I'm not really sure that that is going to be able to be there. I think that putting it in as this is what we're concerned with is fine, but to put the if in there, I'm not so sure that that's going to do anything. Other than that, I agree with what we have put in there.
I do think what it does is communicate that as a council, that is something that we have discussed and agree that we would like to see as part of this. So I think that the onus of it being possible is really not on us, right? It's on the county council to determine whether or not they have the ability to add that to their passage of the bill or adoption of the bill.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, Angie. You're right. I mean, it does tell them what we're thinking. And I don't really want to try to change it. I'm just thinking that, just wanted it out there that I'm thinking that they're not even going to be able to, even if they wanted to.
So if there were a sunset clause in there, I would think that would impact bondability, since typically with the limited amount of revenue that we'd be generating, that if without the assurance of being able to bond for 30 years, that that's not really going to have the desired effect as far as providing the housing we're looking for. So my understanding is that I think 60% goes to housing, and then there's another percentage that goes to mental health services. So that number is actually smaller than what we would like. Angie, do you want to clarify that for me if I'm misspeaking?
Sure. So a minimum of 60% goes to capital. The counties can increase or expand that number. And I think there's wording in the letter that states that we do want, I think number 2, maximizing the proportion going to actual development costs or direct services above the minimum 60%. So we've stated that we would like to see that the number towards capital maximized versus services. And it can be mental health services or behavioral health services, but also housing related services for the other percentage that isn't used towards capital.
I just would like to make one comment, having given it quite a bit of thought here this last week concerning this, and it kind of dovetails a little bit back what took place in the city of Everett here. I believe it was, what's today? I guess it was Thursday or Wednesday of last week, where The city council had previously agreed to leasing some property to Housing Hope, and due to some community, in my opinion, some community uprising, they changed that direction and chose not to lease that property to Housing Hope, or at least approve it that would allow some affordable type housing to be built on there. So I'm kind of sensing that there's been a number of projects that have been built in Everett in the last 3 to 5 years of affordable housing, and I know in discussions with some folks in the city, they're a little leery, I guess, as kind of becoming the affordable housing mecca. And so what I'm relating to is, how does that get back to actually benefit our local community? And we've had this discussion as to we'll only be generating about 450,000, give or take, every year, but that money goes elsewhere. And so how does it actually benefit our community? And so, picking up on what Mayor Gailey suggested, I don't know if we can do this, but I do think that the focus for us, I guess, in approving a sales tax should benefit our area, not Linwood, not Lake Terrace, not Arlington. And so that idea of how do we put money in place to keep people in their homes rather than going out and trying to build something. And so I guess I would like to keep in mind that that is a viable alternative. I'm not totally thrilled about, even with the sunset clause, advocating for a sales tax increase at this point. I just, again, the benefit to our community is going to be insignificant. And so it gets back to that balance, the scale of what are we trying to accomplish here in our local area. So I would hope that some of those ideas are brought to the table as to how do we maximize money for our area, not for other areas.
I would, with all due respect, Councilman Peter Shagan, I would argue that it is not insignificant, the impact that it would have on Lake Stevens. I think that poverty and homelessness impacts every community, and as collectively as we can address those issues as a county, we are then ensuring that the resources going to the areas of greatest need, while providing enough resources to avoid seeing individuals and families become homeless in the first place. We have a significant number of residents here in Lake Stevens who are living below the poverty line. And if there aren't enough resources to assist them to stay in their homes or to move into housing that's affordable, those individuals and families tomorrow will be living in tents in our city, or in Snohomish, or in Monroe, or in Index. I think that homelessness is a not just a city problem; it's a community problem. By allowing the county council, by allowing the county to manage these dollars, and the experts in our county to provide insight and guidance to how these dollars are spent, it ensures that the dollars are spent in those communities where there is need, so that Everett doesn't become a mecca, but so that every community can enjoy a continuum of housing for their residents, that they can offer both affordable housing and housing on the lake and everything in between. And at this point, we don't have a funding mechanism in our county to provide adequate affordable housing to all of our residents. So I guess I think that it's a community issue, and it benefits each city in our community. It doesn't benefit us because we only raise $450,000. That doesn't mean we only get $450,000 for affordable housing. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess 1/10 of 1% ain't going to solve any affordable housing. So if you want to get serious about it, there needs to be a tri-pronged approach to it. And that's, as I stated last week, I mean, it's so ironic. The biggest impediment to affordable housing is our jurisdictional authority, which is the county for the most part in the urban growth boundary area issue of growth management. So If you want to get serious about affordable housing, it's not about 1/10 of 1%. It's about a whole host of issues.
Or I think it's one tool. It's one tool in the toolbox. It certainly isn't the end all be all to solve the problem, but it
No.
creates a funding stream that doesn't exist today.
So Angie, I have a question. Maybe you can help clarify, since I know you've done more research than I have on this. What other cities in our county are pooling their resources in this way? I haven't seen what other city councils in our county have done. Do you know that offhand? I apologize for putting you on the spot.
That's okay. When you speak of pooling resources, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Okay, so let's say tonight, hypothetically, we approve the 1/10 of 1% Lake Stevens. So we approve that for our city. Has Monroe or Snohomish or Marysville or Arlington or Everett or other Linwood, Briar, have they voted, do you know, to do that for the county to do that, or are they doing it unto themselves?
Sure, thank you. There are 22 cities that are members of the Alliance for Housing Affordability. What I last understood was that all cities were supportive of the county passing House Bill 1580 and managing these funds versus having individual cities do it throughout the city. We do have a board meeting tomorrow night, so I think we'll hear, this is a discussion item on the board meeting. I think we'll hear sort of final numbers around what cities will be sending in their letters of support. But at our last meeting, verbally, the representatives from each city, there weren't any cities who were planning on wanting to manage this within the city. They were all supportive of the county managing this sales tax increase. So what we're voting on tonight is not to raise the sales tax within Lake Stevens, but to support a county-wide sales tax increase and management of this fund for that purpose. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you just actually created more questions for me. To be clear, so we say, hey, we're supportive of this, and then the county says, hey, county's going to be the one that the county council would then put forward. They would vote to impose this tax within Snohomish County for the purposes of affordable housing. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
If I
So
could-
even if we
Go ahead, Steve.
so even if we don't support this as a council, the county council can unilaterally impose this, or do we have to support this and then that tax would apply to our city?
No, the county council has councilmanic authority to pass this with or without cities weighing in. The Alliance for Housing Affordability is requesting that the partnering cities send a letter supporting the county in that action. And so our conversation at last week's workshop was around what that letter might look like and what it might contain so that we could feel comfortable supporting the passage of that House bill.
This is only for a letter supporting the idea of it, not passing the tax, not doing anything, but saying, county, why don't you guys deliberate over it? We're going to give our support because we need to understand that you guys are going to make a great decision concerning housing and affordability and other measures as well. There's only a letter of support.
Yes, Councilman Tadgett, thank you.
But to take it one step further, if the county council did not put in a 0.1% for affordable housing, then the cities could do it on their own.
Right.
And the other fact of that is that the county council could actually put in a 0.05% sales tax or any number up to 0.1%. And if they did less than 0.1%, the cities then could use what is left over to the 0.1 in their cities. But as we've discussed in the past, that is not enough money to really accomplish anything, and not in our city anyway.
And the infrastructure needed to manage those funds, I think, is left to larger cities and or the county. I think we've had that discussion as well.
So Angie, do we know what the dollar value would be for that? Should the county do that? What's the projected annual revenue would be if it was at 0.1% for county, Snohomish County?
Yeah, approximately. For 2019, a similar fund generated just over 17 million for the mental health chemical dependency sales tax fund. The difference with housing is that local funds tend to leverage state, federal, and philanthropic dollars for housing development. The conservative estimate is that if 2020, let's say, generated 15 million, that would generate 5 times that amount in additional funds towards affordable housing. So the impact in Snohomish County on a 15 million revenue from sales tax would be approximately 80 million per year.
I'd like to throw my 2 cents in on this if I can. I'd like to see us hold off on this, and I'll tell you why. I had a conversation with 2 of the county council members on this, and they felt that the deadline had passed to do this, which was September 30th. They did feel that this was going to be extended in the new with the coming legislature. And the other reason why they asked that we hold off on doing something is the county doesn't even have a proposal to do this yet. So we don't even know what's on the table really when it comes to what a county proposal would look like. Additionally, I would just rather, like, if we're gonna ask for a tax increase on our citizens, I would rather see that money stay here in Lake Stevens and look at a family services program. Maybe that's run through the VOA, where we can assist those families who are on the brink of going homeless or are on the brink of losing that job that will get them out on the streets, and look at helping them, stay afloat, get them additional training, get them that next job. I would rather see us keep that money here in Lake Stevens, so we're not creating homeless people who then go to another city, and then we can't take care of our own. That's where I'm at on this proposal.
So Mayor, I got a question for you. I apologize again, putting you on the spot. So what conversations have you had with the VOA or other providers about that proposal? I mean, that sounds enticing to me.
Well, we used to have the family, and Kim, jump in on this. We used to have the family services that did this sort of thing. I actually have a meeting with the CEO of Dr. Corsi with the VOA next Monday to talk about this. And that'll be on the agenda. I think it's something that could be set up. How we fund it, that would be up to the council, obviously. But I just see, if we do have this need, we know that if our citizens go homeless, they're not going to stay here under this program. They're going to go to Everett and have to be in Everett or Linwood, versus figuring out how do we keep them here in Lake Stevens and help our own out.
So the Family Services Center that we used to have downtown, in that old beat up house that we used to have down there that I helped tear down finally, it did some wonderful things for citizens of Lake Stevens. It was a great program. It was run by the Lutheran Services, or Family Services, for a while. The board that I was on was a Citizens Action Committee for that. Didn't have any power over budget or anything like that. And it came to pass that just as we moved them out of there so we could continue on with the mill and some other things in there, the Lutheran Family Services decided to close the Lake Stevens Family Center and the Granite Falls Family Center, and only maintain the Arlington Family Center, which was the newest one. And they did that based on a fact that they said that we didn't have enough people that we were serving, which was not really true. We were serving a lot of people. VOA has taken over the Arlington one now. They took it over from Lutheran Family Services. And there was some problems back then with the Lutheran Family Services, to where, in fact, the entire Citizens Action Committee resigned because of what was going on, and that we didn't like. We got the CEO and their board involved in that. We sent a letter to both, and it didn't do us any good. I believe, as does the mayor, that a family services center would be a very good thing for Lake Stevens. I don't know how we would fund it. We would, fund it, have the VOA run it. They're running, I think, 3 of them right now. I'm also got a call into the CEO to talk to him about it through Dixie Bine, who lives here in Lake Stevens. And I do know that the 0.1% sales tax would not be enough to fund it. I do not believe, because 60% of that needs to go, at least a minimum of 60% has to go to capital, which I don't think we could actually accomplish and do any good with. So I'm not really sure that that's going to work, although I'm open to pursuing that as an idea. So anyway, I truly believe we need a family services center. There's a lot of people in our community that could use it, including some of the seniors, and they had used it. Our food bank does a wonderful job. We also had plans for putting a family services center with the food bank in that building that we were going to do on 20th. Personally, I don't know where that stands right now. That might be a discussion for another time. But if we could pull that off, we need to. As far as this letter of support, I would support what the mayor is saying, and maybe not send it until the county council has some kind of a proposal they're looking at, and then support that. But Angie and I put a lot of work into this last week to give you all the ins and outs about that. Those discussions are all the same, and so we either support it now or we support it later, or we don't support it, which whenever you want to do. So I like the way the letter was written by Russ. He did a great job on that. It did capture the things we talked about last week. And I believe that if we were to wait on this, it would be fine. And then when the county council decides to move forward with anything, then we could send our letter of support.
I think I mentioned earlier, the AHA board meeting is scheduled for tomorrow night. This is on the agenda of the board meeting. So I will know more tomorrow about where we're at in the process. My understanding, also from talking to a county council member, was that this passage of House Bill 1590 is part of their current budget conversation, and that extension has already been granted through the end of the year. So the county council, along with their budget conversation, is also talking through how they will move this forward, or what that will look like, but that extension's already happened. But like I said, I'm sure I'll have more information tomorrow evening. What I would like to be able to do is to share with the board that Lake Stevens has drafted a letter of support. So would love the council's direction on being able to share this at that meeting tomorrow evening.
Councilman Member Jorstad, did they explain to you how it was extended? Because the legislature would have to extend it, not the county council.
I didn't get into that level of detail, just because I heard that it was extended, and so took that at face value, but I'm happy to ask that question.
Angie, I got a question. So I want to vote yes on this because I want to give support to our county council. Do you feel like it's worthy to wait on it till tomorrow after your meeting and then bring it the next meeting? Or do you feel like it's more important to have a consensus that the council definitely wants to move something forward, but we didn't vote on it until we hear more of a plan? What is your preference here? I appreciate the time and effort that you and Kim have put together on this. I want to support it because if not now, when? And we always talk about affordability first in Holmes County. So I want to support this. But at the same time, I kind of hear some talk going back and forth of, well, we don't exactly know when or how.
Sure. Thank you, Councilman Tadgett. I think that my preference would be to go ahead and pass, to vote on this tonight, and to vote that we will send this letter to the county council once we get information about, the appropriate time. But I would like to have that that motion voted on so that we know if we're going to move forward. I also feel like if there are enough council members that feel like they want more information about the timing before we vote, I'm happy to get that information and pass it along. What I don't want to do is miss an opportunity to voice our support, but also those items that give us pause. I don't want to miss the opportunity to share that with our county council. And given that they may make a decision during this budget deliberation process and we aren't having a workshop next week, you know, I want to make sure that we have ample time to share our feelings with them. So my preference would be to move forward this evening, but you know, I understand.
Yeah, Angie, I think you're spot on. I appreciate all your efforts and your work on that. I think for me, and I would love to see more specific information on that as far as the timing and what the council's direction is on that. And just as caught my attention just looking through the document again from the House bill, says the money can be used for, and I'm not a lawyer, that says the affordable housing and facilities providing housing related programs in of this subsection may only be provided to persons within any of the following populations, and it goes through veterans, seniors. So if I would kind of what the mayor was saying, if there was an opportunity, kind of like we did with our COVID relief stuff, to support people with like utility bills or rent assistance or something with our own community, I think there's value in keeping people housed that are on the brink. I agree with Councilmember Tadgett and others that say, hey, let's help those people that are in need. So I think you can, regardless of the outcome of whether or not we vote on this or not, there is broad support for this. I think more specific information on the details of that would be certainly helpful for providing more confidence in that vote, for me at least.
Yeah, another note too is we can also make our voices be heard with the county council and they're making a decision. Tonight we're saying we support, hey, what you're doing, but we can also support this by moving forward saying, hey, why don't, if you're at the county council level, saying, hey, in seeing we support you, here are the things that we think are important too. So it doesn't end here tonight. It ends in ultimately, you know, contacting our county council members to say something as well. So,
Councilmember Jorstad, would it be possible that you relayed to the AHA a verbal that, generally speaking, I don't think there's a council member that's against affordable housing. It's the issue of how we get there. And so I guess, would it be comfortable with the council members for you to deliver that message, and that we are supportive of it, generally speaking, but the details are what we would like to see a little more of? Is that something you're comfortable with, or the other council members for that matter?
I feel comfortable relaying that information verbally at tomorrow evening's meeting. I also, having been through a similar process with the other sales tax fund, know that some of those details may not come until months after a bill is passed, given the process of putting together an advisory group and sort of getting into the weeds about, you know, those specifics around how the dollars are spent. But I certainly am happy to relay to this board that our council is supportive and that we're working towards a letter that accurately outlines what that support looks like. Does that seem?
I mean, to add to that, it's, you know, for the most part, it's in the county council's hands. Sure. So, you know, they could act immediately, or they could, as you explained, you know, take months to put this thing together. So that's kind of out of our wheelhouse, I guess you might say. But I don't think there's a council member that's, in our general population for that matter, that's against affordable housing. It's, you know, it's how you get there and accomplish that. And I think it's, you know, it's not only a 1/10% sales tax increase. There's a whole host of menu of items that should be addressed to accomplish that.
Certainly. Thank you, Councilman Peters. Again, I appreciate just that context, that feedback.
Councilmember Jorstad, you know, I'm going to start by thanking you for all of your work. your work and Councilmember Daughtry's work, and I recognize that a lot of this conversation is really rehashing the same conversation we had last week. With that, I agree that we all support. I think that there isn't a council member that doesn't support affordable housing, but I think that there is value in having more detail available from the county council if and what their intentions would be with this moving forward, to answer some of the questions that seem to be reverberating again tonight, like they did last week. So I just thought I'd share that.
Thank you, Councilman Frederick.
So we do not have Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have a motion on the floor at this time. So what's the desire of the council?
No, Mr. Mayor, you do have a motion on the table.
Yeah, we do. Let me just
Because I
find
was
it.
corrected on that, so.
Yeah, it was Councilmember Dickinson putting this letter forward to send the letter. Councilmember Frederick seconded.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor. We've had discussion. What's the pleasure of the council?
I would offer a friendly amendment to the motion that's on the floor. And that is that we hold off until Angie gets us a little bit more information from the AHA group tomorrow. And we come back with this at just a little bit of a later date to get that information from Angie. That's my friendly amendment.
So Kim, how about instead of a friendly amendment, how about a table for date uncertain? Would that work?
Okay, I withdraw my friendly amendment. I don't know, can we actually table it after there's a motion on the table? We have to vote on the motion.
Yeah, let's call for the question and vote.
I don't think we can, I don't think we can table it. Table would mean no one makes a motion or anything, so we can't do that.
Well, we could, if we have to either vote yes, because there's been a first and a second, we have to vote yes or no.
Greg?
Unless someone withdraws, unless there's a withdrawal of it.
Oh, that's true. We can withdraw it.
Greg can correct me, but I do believe you can table this motion vote to another.
We can continue it also, yes.
You can table the motion, which would continue it, and the vote on the tabling would continue the motion.
Yes, that's correct.
And then when you resume, it'll be the same first and second, and you can vote at that time.
Correct.
I do just want to put on the table that the earliest we would be able to do that would be at the meeting on November 10th. There is a possibility the decision will have already.
Kim, do you wish to table?
I withdrew my motion, so we're still at the regular motion.
Correct. Okay. Desire of the council here.
I would like to propose that we call for the question on the current motion.
Okay.
Regardless of which way it goes, I will bring additional information after tomorrow's meeting, and it may end up on the November 10th agenda, looking a little differently depending on what happens in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, so Councilmember Jorstad calls for the question, and Kelly, can you give us a roll call on it, please?
Sure. Councilmember Daughtry?
Aye.
Councilmember Petershagen?
No.
Councilmember Frederick?
Aye.
Councilmember Dickinson?
Aye.
Councilmember Jorstad?
Aye.
Councilmember Ewing?
Aye.
Councilmember Tagent? 6-1, passed.
Thank you, Kim.
All right, so with that, we will move to action item I, which is resolution for multifamily tax exemption.
I will call that we are coming right up on 9 o'clock. So if we can move these items along, or what we're going to do, but we still have an executive session. We are moving up into that 9 o'clock hour.
You are correct. Okay.
Commissioner Tangent, thank you, council members and citizens who have joined us today, as well as staff. So I will try to keep this brief as this has been brought to your attention before, and this is to the action item that's being proposed tonight is for council to have the opportunity to adopt a resolution for the target areas of the multifamily tax exemption code amendment that's being proposed. So to give a brief summary, the multifamily tax exemption is a program that the state offers that cities of over 15,000 people in population may adopt to have, or excuse me, to adopt two separate programs. One program, two options, one an 8-year, one a 12-year. The 8-year exemption is for the incentive of creating more multifamily in these targeted areas. The 12-year is also the incentive for multifamily, but has a 20% requirement for affordable housing in those projects. This code amendment was previously provided to council for input, where council indicated their interest in seeing the staff expand it to the widest potential option and widest potential net possible. Staff brought it back to the drawing board and took a look at the RCW and what it permitted under the 8414 chapter that instigates these conditions for the multifamily tax exemption program. And based on this and based on our analysis, we found that there were other areas within the city that could accommodate this target area, as well as areas within the RA-12 that could potentially be eligible for the multifamily tax exemption. So we expanded our net, brought it before Planning Commission, who also provided comment, instigating that they were concerned that some of the areas that staff proposed did not meet the criteria of urban center under the RCW requirements. And staff looked into those, as some areas were substantially under serviced by public utilities and public services, such as repairs and other such necessity for living in an apartment. And so staff has brought back a revised target area map, which was included in your packet. And I have that in a PowerPoint to also share as a visual. So what staff is looking to show you today is the altered and revised target areas and the code amendment that was also shown at the last meeting. There has been no changes except for a mistaken definition repeat that was removed during Planning Commission. As we have removed the code amendment to just Chapter 3 of Finance and Revenue, there was no recommendation required by Planning Commission, so Planning Commission had no comments on the code amendment that we presented to them in the previous meeting. As just a clarification and recap of what is included in the amendment, in association with these target areas, the code amendment covers an application process, requirements for demolition and rehabilitation of existing structures, an application and eligibility criteria, which, based on council's and planning commission's comments, we put it at a minimum of 4 units to be built as part of a project or rehabilitated. The affordability requirement was set at the minimum of 20% for the 12-year program, with equal and like distribution of these units to market rate units, and included the reporting requirements that are outlined in the RCW. The next steps that council may take tonight is they may pass or deny the resolution to adopt the proposed target areas. And with that resolution would set a public hearing date to formally adopt the target areas and the associated code amendment. Staff would formally notice the public hearing as required in our zoning code, and a public hearing will be conducted to adopt the target areas and the code amendment. Does the council have any questions for me?
Sabrina, I have a quick question. I think it's a quick question. Just to clarify, Despite the Planning Commission advising against certain target areas that your staff prepared because of the lack of transit options, personal services, etc., does this map represent an expanded areas from the first map where multi?
It does.
Okay.
And I will be happy to outline exactly where that is. So,
I don't need to know where. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that this is in fact an increase in total area where this type of housing can be developed than what we saw the 1st of September.
as much as we could, given the current development pattern of the city. There were some areas of the R8-12, which are already pre-existing single-family neighborhoods that we did not feel would benefit from this, as it would not meet with the existing character of our existing neighborhoods, and we are doing our best to maintain the existing character of established neighborhoods without potentially disrupting them. So we did extend it into the R8-12, specifically south of Lake Stevens Center, as far as we thought comfortable.
Thank you.
I would like to advise we are into the 9 o'clock hour now.
Okay, are there any other questions for Sabrina? And what's the council's desire on this?
I would like to move that we adopt resolution 2020-23 to adopt the proposed target areas.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Sabrina.
I apologize. It should be 24, not 23. 23 was a previous for parks.
I amend my motion that we pass resolution 2020-24.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to pass resolution 2020-24. And we have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So we do have an added discussion item of the senior center. Councilmember Dickinson, do you want to continue that discussion?
I will make it very short. And I just wanted to say, all of you received a detailed email from Mr. Jerry Stombaugh, Vice President of the Lake Stevens Senior Center, regarding their need for funding. So I would like to propose that we add $20,000 to our budget to help fund the Lake Stevens Senior Center. As Mr. Stombaugh reminds us, while the Senior Center is closed and they are unable to raise money with their many activities, their expenses continue. The cost of insurance for the building and 2 vehicles, paid staff, janitorial, accounting, postage, and government fees continue. I know the Senior Center appreciates the CARES Act money we directed to them so that they could provide free lunches twice a week to anyone who needed them. Having often stopped by to watch this in work, I have been thrilled to see the volunteers working so hard, rain or shine, to plan and prepare delicious meals. It is cheering to see them remain determined to continue this, even in the cold. Seniors are isolated right now. They're dealing personally every day with the threat of this pandemic. They're caring for spouses with dementia or other health issues, being hospitalized for conditions that make them even more vulnerable. Caring for grandchildren as parents try to cope with work and kids at home. I'm hoping we will recognize the importance of this part of our community and stand up for them as they have always stood up for us. Therefore, I move that we add $20,000 to our budget once we get it to that point to help fund the Lake Stevens Senior Center.
Okay, so you made a motion, but this is not a motion, this is a discussion.
No, excuse me. Right, a discussion, right, sorry.
Any other discussion on this topic?
I guess the only question I have, and I know we're past time, just what historically Lake Stevens has done as a council to support the senior center monetarily. And I do appreciate Jerry's spelling out where those funds are going. That was extremely helpful for me.
The city has given the senior center $20,000 in 2017 and 2018. Last year, they did not get any money from the city, and they've gotten no money this year from the city, other than the CARES Act monies that we did send them for their lunches.
Given the time and the fact that there will not be any budget decisions made between now and November 10th, can we add this to the agenda on November 10th for further discussion and possible action?
We can.
We can. Yes, we can.
I think that'll give us all some time to kind of think about this and come to the meeting on the 10th prepared to have a robust discussion and take some action.
I'm all for supporting the senior center, but I would like to see the senior center work towards a profitability model as well. I know you guys are trying. I know difficult times right now, but I would like to see the senior center work towards a profitability model, and there's somewhere along the lines. But I understand the support that we're going to give them, and I'm all for it. But definitely some strides maybe can be made there.
Okay, great discussion. I want to move into executive session. So remember, on this executive session, you need to turn off your video on this Zoom and move to the Teams link that was supplied to you by Kelly.
Yeah, if you need it again, please let me know right now and I'll forward
Kelly,
it.
can you send it to me again, please?
Yeah, I did send it to you, Marcus, but I'll send it.
If you sent it, great, no problems.
Okay, I did send it.
And we will need how long for this? 10 minutes? 10 minutes it is. We'll return with no action to follow except to adjourn the regular session meeting.
Marcus, did you find it?
Yes.
Okay. Gary, you've got it? Okay. For those of you who are listening, the council has requested 2 more minutes of their executive session. Thank you.
For some reason, my my video won't restart. So
Okay, we got you, Marcus. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and Mary, are you there? Waiting on Mary.
sick
And
of saying if anyone has anything to get a hold of me about, please get a hold of me on my city phone.
Can you hear me?
We got you, Mary.
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those not in favor?
Not in favor. Not playing.
We'll bring that in a minute, Sean.
I don't know if you can see my face right now.
Yeah. Marcus doesn't want to leave yet.
No.
Thank you, everybody, for your work. You're doing great things for the citizens, and keep doing what you do. Have a great night.
Night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.